Here's a brief overview of how to use Practice Perfect. Open the program, enter your username and credentials. Brings you to the active client screen, and this is a list of all your active clients. To get back to the screen at any time, you can click over here on the word clients. For example, if you highlight the patient and enter the activity by progress note or SOAP note section, if you're in this section of notes and you want to go back to the client screen, you click on clients. The key icons you should learn and know well are the hand, which basically means billing or hands-on treatment. If you hold the mouse over any of these icons, it shows you new treatment. The blue folder, which is a file folder, represents your progress notes or SOAP notes. The two pieces of paper is activity by document. These are all documents other than SOAP notes and progress notes, which are basically the same thing. And the bullseye, which is a target or your goal. So basically, the most important icons are the hand, which is billing, the blue folder, which is progress notes, the two pieces of paper, which are your documents, anything other than progress note, SOAP note, and the bullseye, which are your goals. The only other icon that I've mentioned in some of the other videos is this ICD-9 to ICD-10 conversion tool, which can be used to find ICD-10 codes if you know the ICD-9, or can be used to find ICD-10 codes if you know the category, for example, back, hip, and you want to enter that it's a back code, and it can help you find common ICD-10 back codes. So here's an example using this patient. I would like an evaluation, so I'll go to the activities by document, which is the two pieces of paper. I'll select a new document and create a MedCare evaluation form. Here is the form. I can fill out my entire evaluation. I can add my goals by clicking on the bullseye with the plus sign. To add a goal, I hit the plus. I select a prefabricated goal or select one that may need some changes. I can change by clicking and using the arrow keys, or I can add a goal, click on the box, and type my own goal. I say it's long term. I put the date. I say OK. To sign it, I sign it and attest. If I wanted to write a SOAP note for a person, I go to the SOAP note or progress note screen. Notice if I'm in the client screen, the same blue folder exists. There's more than one. The one with the plus sign is the exact same thing. It just starts a new SOAP note from this screen. I prefer to go to the progress note folder, see what notes I have written, and then hit to enter a new note. If I do this here, I will get an error because I already have a note for today's date. I can actually click on that note, open the note, and type in the note. When I'm done with it, I can sign it just like I can do the evaluation. If I had previous notes written, when I create a new note, it will copy the last note automatically and put it in these fields. If I had 5 previous notes, I can go to the subjective section of the note, highlight it and delete it. I can go to this copy and paste, and my last 5 or up to 10 notes will be listed here. So if I had 5 previous notes, I could choose any one of my last 5 subjectives, click on it, and it would auto-populate in this box. In the objective, the same thing would happen. If I want, I can get rid of the objective that's there. I can select. There would be a drop down here. I can choose the one I want, and it will copy the objective. If I want to do my billing now, I write my SOAP note, and then I do my billing to go along with it. I choose the hand, which is new treatments. It opens this screen. My diagnosis codes are already here. I click on the plus sign. choose the code from the drop-down menu, or if I know the codes, I can actually type them in. The only trick here is making sure if you're a PT, you select the PT code. If you're an OT, you select the OT codes. I change my units to the appropriate number, change my time to the appropriate time, and I select my diagnosis codes. I do it again for the next code. Select all. Now I will say OK. Once I do this, the next time I go to add codes, for example, in the next treatment, when we select a code for the next visit, those codes will automatically be checked off. They're not here because, oh, there we go. And actually it did work. So once you've said OK and added your codes, the computer knows that you want all of these codes checked, and it will check them each visit thereafter. Once again, to sign, I would just go to here, say complete signed, and I would say yes. Yes, and print is probably not the best option. I don't know why you'd want to print it each time. And I'm just going to say no to keep it unsigned. Assuming I've been treating this person for a while, maybe I'd like to do my 10th visit progress report. I go to activity by document. How do I know that? Because activity by document holds all documents except SOAP notes, or progress notes as they're called in this. So progress reports, prescriptions, for example, here's a prescription, your evaluations, your discharge forms, they'll all be found in this section. For example, if I had scanned a prescription into this, you'd see it here. You see the little Adobe PDF. If I double click on it, it says, tells you what it is, gives you some information. If I say view edit, it brings up the document that was scanned into the system. If this were a prescription, you'd have access to that way. If I wanted to do a progress report for today's date, although it looks like there's one already in the system, I would go to New Document, select MedCare Progress Report Discharge Form. It opens that form for me. It's auto-populated with the long-term goals. I would want to change the comments here. What I would do is add to this to say what progress I've specifically made towards each long-term goal, which is what Medicare wants on their progress report. So I would click on the bullseye with the plus sign, and I would actually go into the comment box and say, this is how I've progressed. So in other words, in these boxes, if my goal is to reduce pain from 8 out of 10 to 2 out of 10, in this box I may write patient now currently down to 4 out of 10 pain, or something to that extent. This is where you give objective information about progress towards each long-term goal. You say OK. Once we leave this and come back and refresh it, the comments would be in this box. It's a little confusing because they don't show up right now, but they will be there when you come back to this at another time. The assessment box is where you write your assessment of what's been going on. If you believe therapy has been helping them, you document it here. If you believe therapy is still warranted, you want to make your case here. This is also true about a discharge note, because this is the same form. Here is where you have your last chance to tell the Medicare auditor that you believe what you did was worthwhile, it may have helped the patient, and or why you believe it will continue to help them if you're continuing treatment. This is where your G codes go. Here are your G codes. You select your category and your levels of impairment. You get a current and a long-term goal for all visits except discharge. If this were the discharge summary, I would have the long-term goal impairment level and the discharge level. The current becomes the discharge. I give the reasoning why, and then I say what I want to do for my plan of care moving forward. When I'm done with this, I do the same thing. I go up to status. I say complete signed. I would say yes. I will say no for now to avoid locking it. And that's all there is to a progress note. Progress report. Progress report. If I go back to my client screen, here's my list of clients. If I wanted to write a daily note or SOAP note, once again, it would be here. If I wanted to do any other document, it would be here. More general information. Once again, if I go to the activity by document section, These are the lists of available documents. We only choose documents that say MedCare, MedCare evaluation form, MedCare progress report / discharge form, which is required every 10 visits and at discharge. These are the two forms you'll use most often. The only time you'll use these other forms, the MedCare functional limitation reporting form, is included in the progress report. So the only time you would use this form is if you had an instance where you maybe achieved your first functional limitation reporting goal. For example, maybe you were working on self-care and ADLs, and the patient achieved that goal, and you wanted to discharge that functional limitation reporting goal and move on to maybe a mobility goal. And if you did that, you would actually have to do on your progress report a discharge of the current ADL goal that you were using, and then the next visit or the next date of service, you would actually have to do this separate form, which would allow you to open the new category, which would be mobility, and to set up a new goal. The only problem with this is that these must be goals that you found on your initial evaluation, because these technically are long-term goals. So you wouldn't just achieve all your long-term goals and then update this form and continue treating, because long-term goals require the signature of a physician. So in the initial plan of care, if you found functional limitations that you plan to address that included ADL issues as well as mobility issues, when you're done with the ADL, if you wanted to change your mobility, your goal to mobility, then you would open up this form and use it. That is the only time basically this form would be used. I'll go back to the activity by documents to show you the other form, which is the MedCare plan of care form. Basically, the only time you would use this form would be if your initial plan of care expired and you needed an extension, for example. So then what you would do is open this form. You would put the date of which you're asking for the extension to start from. You have your goals here. You would either leave the goals the same, or you could actually update them now because this is a new plan of care. So you would do it by going to the incident goals. You could actually go in and change the goals to whatever you want, because the physician is going to sign off on this new plan of care or plan of care extension. You could change them only slightly if needed, or you can totally rewrite them depending on what the purpose is. You check off what your plan is. It's physical therapy, and maybe you're asking for up to 2 times a week for an additional maybe 3 weeks. Once you do that, you sign it, and now that can be sent to the doctor, and the doctor will also sign it on the line, and that will recertify a new plan of care or extend your plan of care. So that's really the only time you would use these two forms. So for the most part, you're going to use MedCare evaluation form and MedCare progress report form. Ignore all the rest.